could be 4-star, 5-star, whatever that is, the prices tend to be pretty consistent against each other. So how does one hotel do better than another? And really what they do is they leverage service. And that's that kind of experience that a customer has from the point that they walk in the front door, the quality of the furniture, the quality of the experience that they have interacting with the people that work at that property. And finally, looking at that as to how to leverage that for customer loyalty. Like most businesses in the world, the customers, I should say companies, want customers to repeat business because it is much cheaper, much more economically feasible to get a customer to do more business with you than it is to get a new customer. So you'll see a lot of focus on loyalty programs, options that, it might be, rewards and things like that, that hotels and other services businesses will use to encourage customers to come back after that first experience. So what is the services economy that I call it? These are companies that again, kind of follow that same or similar environment where prices are neutral, products are neutral, but what they really leverage is that customer experience. And one of those areas that's big in this space, and it's probably, I will say, the one area outside of education that I have professionally worked in is insurance. And insurance, there's a heavy focus on what it costs companies to get a customer to do business with them. And these could be, life insurance companies, automobile insurance, homeowners insurance, life insurance, all sorts of different products that companies will offer, but there's a strong focus on understanding how much it costs in advertising, marketing, staff, all those different areas to get the customer. And where that's important is that it's particularly for insurance companies, they have to collect payments from customers over a certain period of time just to recover the cost to get them. So this is an area where retention, customer retention, is very important because they need to build a long-term relationship. I can tell you in my professional experience, this is something we looked at daily. And it was really to understand at what point did we break even, where we began to see a profit from a customer. And for some insurance companies in particular products, that could take a year of payments to be able to recover just the cost to get the customer to do business with you. The other area that insurance companies focus on is what's called multiple relationships. So it's you might start off with a life insurance policy, then you go to the same company for an automobile insurance policy, credit insurance, lots of different things. The intent there is that it is less likely that a customer will cancel multiple types of policies, insurance policies with you, because it's less convenient. That means they've got to go out and find a new company and maybe test that new company and all sorts of things. So you'll see a lot of insurance companies will try what's called remarketing. They'll remarket a different product that you already have with them. But again, that focus, what keeps that customer there is the quality of service they receive. How easy was it to purchase? How easy was it to get support? If you get in a car accident or something like that, how quickly was that repair made? Those are things that insurance companies really focus on because, again, the intent is to keep you as a customer. And insurance companies are not alone. Banks are in a similar situation. Banks also offer a limited type of set of products. Could be a savings account, credit account, investment account, but prices and products are neutral. Interest rates are interest rates. If you go to 10 different banks, you're going to see basically the same type of interest rate. So there's no price differentiation. Acquisition costs, like insurance companies, are very high. People tend to go to a bank. I mean, I look at myself. I bank at Citibank, and I've probably been a Citibank customer for 22 years. And I'm sure it costs them a lot of money to get me to do business with them. But I look at it from a customer perspective, they treat me well. So when I call, I don't have to wait on hold, or I get an email responded to in a relatively quick period of time, because Citibank, like UBS, Flywire, Edmund Rothschild, other companies that we work with, really focus on service, and they will treat different types of customers differently. So, for example, if you have more money with a bank in comparison to others, they will reward you. I look at my own experience. I'll give you an example. I bank at Citibank, as I said, and I had to call them a couple of weeks ago, and I called on my my landline, my physical hard home phone. That telephone number is not registered with Citibank. So when I called, I sat on hold for like 20 minutes. But when I called on my cell phone, which is attached to my account at Citibank, I waited on hold for less than 30 seconds. At the same time, I made both of these calls. That is their way of using, in effect, technology to really leverage that experience for me. And in some cases, you'll have dedicated customer service lines that you'll call, status levels based on customer value, which should be a very familiar business model, because it's the same thing that hotels do when they focus on loyalty. As I mentioned, I've traveled the globe for 20 years now, and I have, I think, with Marriott, Bonvoy, I think it's called now, lifetime platinum status. Because at some point in time, I had stayed at one of their branded properties for over 300 days, over a period of a couple of years. So they're rewarding that, my loyalty to them, by giving me preferred experience from a customer perspective. Airlines, same thing. Follow that same model, because they want that ease of business to be rewarded on your loyalty. Luxury retailers, same thing. They really focus on experience, and you'll see some of the companies that we work with on the right. Very high customer acquisition costs, but it's an on-ground physical retail, and they really focus on experience. I'll give you an example. My wife loves handbags, and she happens to like Louis Vuitton handbags. I hate shopping. So what she will do is she will go into a Louis Vuitton store. That representative that's in the store will ask her, because you go into one of these stores and it seems to me hundreds of handbags. So and I don't know what to pick. As my wife reminds me daily, I have no grasp of women's fashion whatsoever. She will go in, she will go through that experience. That representative will ask her, does she want something big, small, functional, what color, look, all of those things. And then she figures out what she wants. She gives me the name of the product. I go 5 minutes, buy it, get out. That's kind of my philosophy when it comes to buying handbags. I hate it. But I'm not the customer. I'm the purchaser. She's the customer. And so you typically will find a very long sales cycle, very consultative, high touch, but the focus is on sales conversion. And the focus is on leveraging that quality, that kind of nurturing, consultative experience to identify something that she wants based on her needs. But they also want her to come back. So it might be, which to me, I can't fathom. I had the same wallet for 25 years, but my wife has lots of handbags. So, because apparently they have different functions, is what she tells me. But again, it's kind of that same thing. How does that experience differ from any number of different brands of handbag retailers that might exist? Healthcare. Now, this is one area that people, they look at me when I say healthcare and they say, well, God, Tom, how does that make sense? But take a look at how hospitals in particular operate. Customers have a relatively small amount of choices. Acquisition costs, again, are very high. You'll see a lot of this whole idea of medical tourism has gone on for years. You'll see a lot of hospitals in different parts of the world will advertise their services. In some cases, your physician of choice will, that kind of drives your loyalty to an extent. But there's also less cost sensitivity. It's healthcare. You're willing to pay a higher price for better quality of that experience. But finally, this is one area that's very similar to hotels, in that they've also focused on occupancy rate. So for example, there was lots of talk in the beginning of COVID here in the US that there was the occupancy rate of intensive care unit beds was quite high, which is true. And in some cases, elective procedures and things like that need to be delayed or deferred or things like that. The problem, though, is that hospitals need to have those beds occupied. Those beds are incredibly expensive to have, where you have specialized equipment, you might have specialized infrastructure in those particular rooms, oxygen things and stuff like that. I'm not a healthcare guy, so I can't, talk about the equipment too much, but they want those beds occupied for the same reason that hotels want their rooms occupied, because there's a cost. If that bed is unoccupied, the cost still exists. So you want those rooms occupied for any number of different reasons. Obviously, COVID is not a good thing, but at the same time, these hospitals depend on these things. Other things that you find that are very common in hospitals, they have, like I said, they have rooms, they have food and beverage, either in some sort of a canteen or a cafeteria, or they're bringing you food to your room if you're there. They have exercise facilities, although hospitals refer to them as physical therapy facilities. They're still exercise facilities. And finally, the only difference is motivation. People want to go to a hotel. They don't want to go to a hospital. So your motivation to go to a hospital is you're sick. Your motivation to go to a hotel is you're probably going on vacation. So from a motivation perspective, it's different. But other than that, from a facility perspective, they're nearly the same type of operation as a hotel. And culinary grads, clearly different, but they also have pretty diverse career paths. Obviously, restaurants, food and beverage operations are common, but a lot of the new areas that we're starting to see our students go into are things like nutrition sciences, which is really kind of the study of food as ingredients, as nutritional values. Specialized diets, which is becoming a pretty strong trend right now in many parts of the world. So things like gluten-free for people who have celiac disease, low-fat, sugar-free, low-salt, healthier goods. Also things like more like non-traditional cuisines, like I note there, plant-based, meatless cuisines that are still provide what the customer perceives as the same product, but it's healthier. So from a taste, texture, usability, these are things that are very similar in nature, but it's a healthier option. Food and beverage management. Restaurants, again, like hotels, are businesses. The difference is that with our programs, particularly our bachelor's degree, is that students get far more in-depth on how to determine pricing of product that you put on a menu. Now, unfortunately, a lot of chefs that have not had this education will look at an ingredients cost and then throw a 50% margin on top of it and say, well, that's their profit. The problem is they haven't paid their people, they haven't paid for their gas and electric and water and sewage, they haven't paid for the building. All of those different areas where you have one source of revenue, that being that menu item, that has to pay for everything that's necessary for that restaurant to operate. And then finally, another area that's still relatively new, it's called institutional dining. So this would be, I would certainly not call it Michelin starred or fine dining or things like that, but it's more cafeteria, canteen operations, catering, corporate dining falls under these areas where you're making more lower cost, but good product, but for a larger audience. That you'd have there. So that's really where the difference comes in there. So and oddly enough, from a compensation perspective, those are probably the highest paying jobs. You get into the kind of the institutional dining side, because it's a very successful, throughout the world, a very successful business operation as well. Demand for our students is quite high. To give you an example, we just had a couple of weeks back our latest instant recruitment forum for employers and both interns and graduates. We had over 100 employers that are looking to place over 1,000 jobs. So even as we're still kind of in COVID in certain parts of the world still, the challenge that hotels and restaurants have right now is that they want to grow at a much faster pace than they can because they don't have enough employees. And that's a problem, obviously, for the industry. It's a good opportunity for our students because instead of worrying whether or not they're going to have an internship option or job option available, our students are already starting to see that they're getting multiple offers and from all over the world. And so that provides a really, so instead of worrying if I'm going to find one, your worry now is what am I going to pick as particular options. So it's a good opportunity. Certainly the hotel industry specifically was hit very hard with COVID, and there was a significant drop in available jobs. But the feedback that we've already had from our entire group of employers that we work with is they're coming back to us and saying we need more, and we need more students, we need more interns. To give you an example, we were approached a couple of weeks ago by the Qatari government in the Middle East, where they are doing the World Cup next year. They came to us and said, well, we need 9,000 interns. Obviously, we don't have 9,000 students available for those interns, but they're offering very lucrative compensation, housing, travel, visa, salary, all sorts of different things, because they have this huge global event coming up next year that they simply cannot get enough people to support. And again, provides great opportunities for our students to get that sort of exposure. And finally, we'll talk about outcomes for a second here. And this is across all of the Swiss Education Group schools to kind of give you an idea. We right now, even this is in the middle of COVID, 97% of our students had at least one job offer before graduation. So that, and again, that's something that we as schools actively invest in, providing the staffing at all of the schools to support students through the creating your resume, preparing for interviews, trying to figure out with them what types of jobs that they want to go into, where they want to work if it's a particular part of the world. You still have to apply and you still have to interview as students, because we consider that interview and recruitment process to be part of your education. So we do not place you in a job. We provide that opportunity and sort of coach you along the way. But you're adults. We expect you to be able to walk in the door. We're not going to, grab you by the collar out of a classroom and say, go to the career services office. After that, 90% of our alumni either are in management roles or they're operating their own businesses within 5 years of graduation. So what this is getting at really is to look at kind of a general business management student who maybe goes to a local university or somewhere in Europe, UK, US, Canada, wherever, that their trajectory into a leadership role is much slower in comparison to our students, where our students are moving up quickly within organizations. 70% still work in the hospitality and tourism, culinary sectors, but 30% work in all of those other areas that I talked about. So they're in banking, insurance, retail, healthcare, all of those different areas. So why this is important is that for some people, they might want to work in the hotel hospitality business for maybe 5 or 10 years after they graduated, but as a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week sort of job, this is not conducive to getting married and having kids and things like that. So if that's part of kind of your life goals, you are still getting the skills and education and professional experience to go off in a wide range of different areas. And we do see students do that. Some will do it immediately after graduation, some are farther out. But the benefit that you get by getting this type of education at one of our schools is you're getting what we call transferable skills. So you're getting that business education, you're getting that services, that customer loyalty focus, that leadership focus that you can take to a wide range of other career paths. And again, just like how our career services staff helps our current students and soon to be graduates, that is a lifetime service that we provide. So if you're 5 years out, 10 years out from graduating from one of our schools, you still have access If you want to go to the recruitment forum, you can. If you want us to help you connect you with maybe a particular part of the world or a particular brand that you have an interest in, even if you're 5 years graduate, we will still provide those network opportunities for you. And because again, we look at this as a service. We are providing a service to you as a student. And we want to make sure that time and effort and investment that you've made as a student at one of our schools has a lifetime benefit to you, not just immediately after you finish your studies. And Dastan, I think that's my last slide. So I'm going to share back to you. I hope that was helpful for everyone. And I wasn't talking too fast or anything like that. Dastan gave me 15 to 20 minutes. I probably went over that just a little bit. But I will be at the ready for questions and answers at the end if you have any. And thank you again.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Thomas. It was a very informative presentation from your side. And I see that you've been trying to give us hospitality and tourism trends based on our experience in Swiss Education Group, which is a great presentation. Thank you very much. And добрый вечер, уважаемые участники. I will swap, to Russian language because I need to do my presentation in Russian. So I understand that you are quite a bit busy. Mr. Thomas is our Vice President for Swiss Education Group, so we can let him answer your questions if you have. Добрый вечер, уважаемые участники. Если у вас какие-то вопросы есть касательно трендов в сфере индустрии, туризма и гостеприимства, то вы можете задать вопросы в чате, написать, либо мистеру Томасу. В чате, если пишете, пожалуйста, на английском языке. Хорошо, если вопрос адресован к нему. Сейчас я бы хотел продолжить презентацию на русском языке по элитному образованию в Швейцарии. То есть вы видите перед собой кампусы Swiss Education Group. Немного остановлюсь на сфере гостеприимства. Почему она интересна сейчас? Потому что она включает в себя различные сектора. Обратите внимание, на экране вы видите, что сфера гостеприимства включает не только отели и рестораны, но также организация различных мероприятий, предпринимательство в сфере туризма, недвижимость и риэлторство, развлечения и досуг, кулинарное искусство, продажи и маркетинг. То есть сюда входят различные сферы гостеприимства. И следующий слайд, сейчас, секундочку. Я бы хотел вам показать немножко видеоролик о Swiss Education Group из Швейцарии.
I know that attention to detail is important for my progress, but what really matters to me is the pride I take in pleasing other people.
I try to do the best I can, and I feel comfortable with the support and cooperation I get from inspired people.
I'm learning to be humble, to be patient, and to listen to others attentively. This brings a very special harmony to my life. Living in a wonderful city and working in a prestigious hotel gives me the chance to meet people from all around the world and opens doors to many career opportunities. I know that wherever my future takes me, there will always be a familiar face who was taught the same values as me. many things to learn, but I'm determined to make a positive and active contribution to the future.
Надеюсь, короткий наш видеоролик вам понравился. И я бы хотел также остановиться немножко на сферу гостеприимства и чем она привлекательна. То есть, как вы видите на экране, на данный момент каждые 2,5 секунды появляется новое рабочее место. Это говорит о том, что каждый 10-й человек в мире работает в данной индустрии. И данная сфера генерирует в мире, получается, около 3,5 триллиона долларов, что говорит о том, что это 10% от мирового внутривалового продукта, что говорит о том, что если посмотреть, в 1995 году количество туристов было всего лишь 600 миллионов, то сейчас уже в 19-20-х годах это перевалило более 1,5 миллиарда человек, которые путешествуют. То есть данная сфера намного динамичнее, чем другие сферы, можно смело говорить об этом. Немножко о Swiss Education Group. Это альянс крупных швейцарских топовых университетов в Швейцарии и в мире. Здесь вы можете понять, что у нас есть программы бакалавриата, магистратуры и краткосрочные курсы. У нас, как вы видите, более 28 тысяч выпускников по всему миру сейчас, так как университеты, они в целях сохранения индивидуального подхода к каждому студенту выпускают небольшое количество выпускников ежегодно. Естественно, вы можете заметить, что все наши программы – это 80% практики и 20% теории, можно сказать. Перед вами вы видите карту, на котором отображены расположение наших кампусов. То есть вы знаете, что Швейцария говорит на французских и на немецких языках, что и где наши кампуса как раз-таки расположены. То есть в Женеву прилетаете, это как раз-таки швейцарская, французская говорящая сторона, и в Цюрих прилетаете, это уже немецкоговорящая сторона, так скажем. На этом я еще дополнительно остановлюсь. Вы видите перед собой здесь кампуса. То есть данные кампуса, они как пятизвездочные отели, где живут наши студенты, там же учатся, там же проживают, и все здесь обеспечено для них. То есть есть возможность обучаться, так скажем, в среде для бизнес-людей, потому что у вас есть уборка в комнате, 24 часа ресепшн работает, есть специальные бизнес-центры, библиотеки в данных кампусах. Я немножко хотел рассказать, что у нас есть 4 топовых университета, которые входят в наш альянс. Один из них – это Cesarits Colleges. Вы сейчас можете понять, что мы обучаем именно в данном университете бизнесу в сфере туризма. Например, если вы хотите открыть свой ресторан, отель, кафе, турфирму и многое другое, то есть оно входит как раз-таки в этом университете. Обучается, как открывать этот бизнес с нуля и как дальше ею управлять. Также в этом университете есть кулинарное искусство. То есть у нас, как вы видите, кулинарная академия, Culinary Arts Academy, он находится совместно с данным кампусом в связи с философией самого Цезарица, так как Цезариц – это предприниматель, который впервые открыл в мире сферу, так скажем, люксового гостеприимства. И он, управляя отелем, привлек, как так сказать, шеф-повара Escoffier, совместно с которым они управляли отелями и ресторанами. И здесь вы можете ту же философию увидеть. И это кампус в городе Бувре, французская часть. Здесь мы обучаем также бизнесу в сфере туризма и кулинарному искусству. Дальше вы можете увидеть наш кампус Цезарица и кулинарной академии в городе Люцерн. Это уже немецкоговорящая сторона. Здесь мы обучаем уже туризму и также бизнесу в сфере туризма и гостеприимству. Кулинарному искусству, я имею в виду. Следующий университет, я бы сказал, это мой университет, потому что я сам выпускник MBA-программы в данном университете. И здесь вы можете понять, что обучение идет, опять же, в сфере бизнеса, только в гостеприимстве. Например, те сферы, которые не включены в туризм, допустим, продажа, маркетинг, финансы, вы видите перед собой, есть специальные специализации, на которых вы можете фокусироваться. Далее университет, который обучает именно управлению отелями и ресторанами. Если вы, например, планируете работать в сетях крупных отелей и ресторанов, то данный университет как раз для вас подходит. Здесь есть специализации, такие как управление резортом и спа, дизайн интерьера и организация мероприятий. Это следующий кампус данного университета. Это город Ко, расположен недалеко от Женевского озера. Здесь также мы обучаем таким же специальностям. Наши бакалавриаты обучаются половина учебы в данном кампусе и потом переходит на следующий кампус, где у нас обучаются магистры. Я на этом еще остановлюсь. По рейтингу, да, то есть наши университеты входят в топ-10 мировых рейтингов согласно QS и номер 1 согласно рейтингам The Eyes. Это опросник среди 300 тысяч выпускников и студентов. Мы лидируем в области качества лекторов, сопровождения студентов и размещения их на стажировки и трудоустройство. Наши программы, как они созданы, да? Допустим, вы можете перед собой увидеть эти кругляшки, то есть первый год, полгода у нас обучение идет, второй год, полгода идет стажировка, то есть студент отрывается от кампуса, едет на стажировку в один из наших партнеров компаний. Кто это компании, какие и где будут работать наши студенты, это я на этом позже остановлюсь. Здесь я показал программу бакалавриата, то есть программа бакалавриата длится всего лишь 3 года. За 3 года студент получает сразу 2 диплома, швейцарский и британский, либо швейцарский и американский. Здесь вы можете заметить полгода учебы, полгода стажировка, и так каждый год повторяется, что дает возможность получить более 1,5 года стажа работы по окончанию, 2 диплома по окончанию, и, естественно, за 3 года вы можете получить колоссальный опыт во время стажировки. Здесь я хотел показать вам немножко о платформе Хоско, предназначенная для наших выпускников. На данный момент их более 28 тысяч, я вам говорил, и все они имеют возможность после первого трудоустройства получать информацию о дальнейших вакансиях по всему миру, так как все наши выпускники по всему миру постят свои вакансии на этой платформе. И здесь, естественно, мы каждый год собираемся, встречаемся с нашими выпускниками, вместе с ними мы растем, так скажем, так как мы проводим для них мастер-классы, совместно какие-то проекты ведем. И, естественно, только что мистер Томас рассказывал о возможностях организации нами, так скажем, международной ярмарки вакансий, на котором могут принять участие наши студенты. Ежегодно все наши партнеры, работодатели приезжают в кампуса и проводят рекрутинговые мероприятия, так скажем. Кто эти компании, я вам обещал показать. Вот вы перед собой видите, что 100% наших студентов размещены на стажировку во время учебы. Какие компании, да? То есть вы видите здесь Disneyland, Armani, Ritz-Carlton, St. Regis, Hyatt, Кемпинский, Radisson, Rixos и так далее. То есть все эти международные бренды, даже Booking, допустим, или Tag Heuer, это часы производства. Есть компания Movenpick, которая мороженое производит. Есть компания Swiss Travel, авиакомпания, и даже Tesla, да, допустим. Почему Tesla? Это компании, которые требуют для себя сотрудников, имеющих опыт работы с клиентами, корпоративными клиентами. Как раз-таки, чему мы обучаем во время учебы, так как мы акцентируем внимание не только на получение знаний в университете, но также навыков личностных, например, как лидерские качества, умение презентовать себя, свою продукцию, а также бизнес-навыки, такие как ведение бизнес-переговоров, так скажем, работа в команде и так далее. И, естественно, 98% выпускников, они трудоустроены в мировых брендах, так скажем, и вы видите перед собой наиболее популярные города, где проходят наши студенты стажировки. По окончанию получают около 1,5 года стажа работы, ну, естественно, ежемесячно зарабатывают в районе $2400, если в доллары перевести. Это огромная возможность, будучи первокурсником, уже зарабатывать такие зарплаты. Немножко о процессе зачисления. Для того, чтобы зачислиться в данные университеты, вам необходимо пройти интервью Ну и, естественно, чтобы у вас был сертификат английского языка, возможно, не сразу, но уровень примерно вот как вы видите перед собой, IELTS 5,5 минимум для бакалавриата и минимум 6 для магистров. Вам нужно собрать всего лишь 3 документа. Это копия паспорта, транскрипты, либо табель, если вы в школе учитесь, и анкету университета. После этого вы можете забронировать свое место в кампусе и программе. Немножко хотел показать видеоролик, в котором я рассказываю, где наши студенты, выпускники работают на стажировках или в работе.
Хотите занимать высокие должности в сфере гостеприимства или иметь свой бизнес? Посмотрите, чего добились наши выпускники.
Сейчас работаю в сфере консалтинговых услуг, открыл фирму в Турции по туризму и образованию.
Я являюсь менеджером проекта в IT-компании.
В отельном менеджменте я поработала в Эмиратах, поработала в Швейцарии. Также поработала в столице, в Астане, в отеле Сан-Риджис Астана.
Отель Wyndham Garden Астана, работаю директором отеля.
Я работаю в национальной компании «Казахтуризм» проектным менеджером.
Работаю директором по продажам и развитию в компании «Вольт».
В настоящее время я являюсь заведующей кафедрой туризма и гостеприимства при Университете международного бизнеса UIB, город Алматы.
Устроился на работу в первый люксовый отель в Казахстане, Ritz-Carlton. Дальше продолжил свою карьеру в St-Regis, тоже люксовая пятизвездочная гостиница.
Я сейчас работаю туроператором, приглашаю иностранных гостей в Казахстан.
Записывайтесь на интервью прямо сейчас.
Спасибо за внимание. Здесь мы хотели показать, где и кем работают наши сейчас выпускники. И хотел бы также сразу же показать вам стоимости, что, наверное, важный вопрос для всех вас. Учеба в среднем в наших университетах один год составляет в районе 35 тысяч долларов, что сопоставимо с обучением в Америке, в Британии и в Канаде, допустим. И дальше вы можете увидеть также, мы даем возможность пакеты «Все включено» получить, куда входит проживание, питание трехразовое, включая выходные, также дополнительные расходы. Допустим, мы предоставляем, шьем специальные униформы для студентов по приезду, планшет в виде iPad в подарок даем, делаем вид на жительство по приезду каждому студенту, учебные материалы предоставляем, медицинская страховка от компании «Альянс» включена в данную стоимость. Ну и, естественно, туда входят также фитнесы, спортивные секции, уборка в комнате, как я говорил, и другие возможности во время нахождения в наших кампусах. И, естественно, стоимость в год, если все включено в пакет брать, то это в районе 50 тысяч долларов. Естественно, у нас есть возможности получить при ранней подаче документов определенные частичные гранты. Во время интервью данный вопрос определяется. Здесь вы можете увидеть на экране наши социальные сети, платформы, куда вы можете обратиться, вдруг, если у вас появятся какие-то вопросы. Поэтому спасибо за внимание. Я вижу здесь Нурсултан у нас поднимает руку и хочет какой-то, видимо, вопрос задать. Пожалуйста, Нурсултан, представьтесь, пожалуйста. Нурсултан, у вас какие-то вопросы есть, да? Так, хорошо. Давайте посмотрим вопросы, которые здесь задавались в нашем чате, пока Нурсултан нас не слышит, наверное. Mr. Thomas, if you are with us, still you can see that so many people thanks for your presentation, that it's very important information. I'm reading the chats over here, maybe you see it as well. And it was helpful, of course. And they're asking questions like, how many years have you spent in this area? Which area of hospitality do you like best?
Okay, I'll try and take that. I have worked in education for almost 30 years. Although I hide my gray very well, I've worked in education for about 30 years for large public universities, smaller private universities, but I've specifically in hospitality management education for probably 15 years. And I think the area that I probably like the most is particularly related to the business component of hospitality, because my whole education is in finance, all the way through my doctorate is in finance. So it's an area I probably grab onto the most.
Okay, thank you very much. Another question is about how do you expect the future of this profession?
Actually, from not just my own opinion, but I would say the opinion of a lot of different professional data sources and people in the industry, is that the recovery is quite strong right now. And if you look at some of the investments that have been made, long-term investments in areas like the Gulf Coast countries, several parts of Asia, and even to an extent in the U.S., is that there's been a pretty significant kind of, I would say, financial investment in hospitality and hotels that is really kind of supporting the sustainability of the business. And every indication we have is that this business is clearly in recovery. And as I mentioned before, that the growth is the only limit to growth right now is that there just simply aren't enough people studying this subject and working in it professionally. So it's a very, very good area to go into right now.
Thank you very much. It seems your speech inspired many of our students, so they thanks you a million times. So
my pleasure.
So we have another question, like what qualities and things, in your opinion, are important with working with people?
Sure. Yeah, I would say the absolute top thing, and it's something that we focus on with a lot of the schools as well, is empathy, and that really means to be able to understand the feelings, the experience from the customer's perspective. And it's sometimes even looking at the design of a hotel. You have certain empathetic things. You want to be able to understand not only what the customer expects to experience, but how do you have to have kind of the personality and the ability to, and that's more emotional. That's not something that there's not a class called empathy. It's more of that you're able to put yourself in that customer's shoes and to really understand their needs and wants. And then how do you, as an employee of that property, really adjust what you do from a professional perspective and a personal communication perspective to really address that. And I think that's probably number one. Number two, business education. These are all companies that provide great service and great experience, but at the end of the day, you have to be profitable. And that's really what matters to your bosses, to the owner of the property, whatever that is. They expect you to be able to strike a good balance between great service and great customer experience, but to do it at a profit.
Thanks a lot once again. We have another questions like, how do I know if I can work in the hotel business?
That's a good question.
I think it's more about professional orientation. So what?
Yeah. I think I would say this. Look at when you are going to a hotel or you're interacting with a bank or insurance company or any businesses that are in this space. And it's really, first impressions mean a lot. You want to look good, be professional, speak clearly, have an outgoing and engaging personality. So it's not for the shy, we'll say, but there's still, even for the shy, those are the accountants, finance, and HR people that are not directly engaging with customers. So it's more about that you take pride in who you are, not to the point of arrogance, but you take pride in who you are, and you really have kind of that personality, that desire to provide a good experience for someone else. And that's not in grades, that's not in English language test scores or anything like that. It's really about you as a person and your emotions and your professionalism. That's really the stuff that I would focus on.
Yeah, thank you very much. I hope our students decided to apply and to work in hotel business from now on. So another student thanks you for presentation and would like to ask what kind of traits are important for hotel business. I mean, maybe
what kind of trades?
Yeah, I mean, I believe it's like skills to important.
Oh, okay, sure, yeah. Again, I think it's a combination of a lot of different things. In order to really succeed in this business, you have to, particularly the hotel business, you have to have a really deep understanding of how hotels operate. Functional areas like food and beverage, rooms division, front office operations, all of that stuff. That's a part of it. The other part of it is that deep business education. So to be able to understand how, by example, that when you go into a hotel, different times of the day, you'll have a different amount of people at that front desk. You'll have more people from, say, 12 noon to about 4 o'clock in the afternoon than you would have at 2 o'clock in the morning. That's really taking an understanding of how much business comes in at different times of day and balancing that against your costs. So you want to be able to, again, it's that idea of understanding the operations and how to leverage that to provide that great experience, but to understand that you have a limited amount of money that you can pay people and things like that. So you really need to understand kind of that business side as well, because if you're in a functional role, if you're in a supervisory or leadership role of a property, everything that you do has a cost and service impact. So you really need to understand how to balance both of those factors.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And I see that. I see that Dilnas, a student, really impressed by your knowledge and reasonings. So they thank you very much. And of course, they say that it's very informative and want to ask about the open days. So I can reply that we have open days on our website. So I text it into the chat, our websites that you can visit and see, and of course, contact us to get more information from us. And thank you so much, Professor. I wanted to ask, Okay, what types of personality of people are having more chance to work in this sphere of work? I think you replied.
Yeah, I'd say outgoing. That's the main thing. It's that you have high energy, that you're engaging, but it's really, again, kind of having that not just kind of thinking mentality up here, but the soul. It's really kind of that idea that you like the idea of engaging with a wide variety of people, because that's what you're going to experience. If you're in kind of that customer facing role, you will meet people from all over the world, and just sort of be prepared for that and be open to that.
Thank you so much. I will work harder to improve my skills in this sphere. So Dimash replied to your answer.
Good.
So it seems they learn quickly from you.
Good.
Yeah. So I think it's all questions that we students asked from you, and that we see that you've been very popular today. We had more than 60 people joining us. So we would like once again thank you for all your efforts and presentation. So if they will have
and thank you for the invitation. It was certainly great to join all of you this morning.
Yeah, for you it's morning, for us it's evening as well. So thanks a lot, and we wish you a great day beforehand. And
all of you have a pleasant evening.
Thank you very much, and we wish all of you a great success, and see you soon in our next webinars with Mr. Thomas. We will let you know. Bye bye, and
Sounds good. Bye.
Take care.
You too.